Your dog ignores the shoe, ignores the towel, ignores half the room, and somehow ends up carrying off your sock like it was the one thing that mattered. That's the part owners notice immediately. Not just that the dog took something, but that it took something so specific. Something soft, something personal, something that smells strongly like you. Most owners read that moment as emotional proof, like the sock must be carrying some big hidden message. But here's the calmer reframe. In many homes, this behavior makes more sense when you stop treating the sock like a symbol and start seeing it as a familiar, high-scent object that has become rewarding inside your dog's routine. That is the real shift. The sock may not be the message, the role it plays may be. In this video, you'll learn why socks become such common targets, what owners often get wrong, and what to watch next time so you can respond with more clarity and less overreading. Hidden dog signals. Understand your dog better. There's a version of this that almost every dog owner can picture. You walk into the bedroom and one sock is missing, or your dog is carrying it down the hallway like a tiny trophy. Sometimes it gets taken to the bed. Sometimes it gets mouthed. Sometimes it gets paraded just far enough away that you know your dog wants the moment to stay alive. And that is exactly why this behavior feels so loaded. Because socks do not feel random, they feel chosen. They smell like you more than most objects in the house. They are soft. They are easy to carry. They show up in quiet, familiar home spaces where your dog is already tuned into your routines. So the owner's mind starts racing. Is my dog comfort-seeking, missing me, acting out, trying to get my attention, turning this into a game? And honestly, that reaction makes sense. The behavior really does look meaningful. But this is where hidden dog signals thinking matters most. You do not have to ignore the behavior. You just do not want to overload one moment with too much certainty. A very common misread is thinking the sock itself explains everything. Owners see the object and jump straight to one emotional conclusion. My dog stole this because it's obsessed with me, or because it misses me, or because this is secretly separation anxiety. Sometimes people go in the other direction and turn it into attitude. My dog knows it shouldn't do this. My dog is being defiant. My dog is doing this to get a rise out of me. And here is the gentle correction. The issue is not that you notice the behavior. The issue is that the visible moment is only the surface. A sock is not just your sock in a human sense. To a dog, it may also be one of the most portable, scent-heavy, easy-to-carry objects in the house. So yes, the behavior can feel personal, but personal does not automatically mean profound. What you see on the outside is not always what it means on the inside. A stronger way to read this behavior is this. Your dog may not be stealing socks because socks are emotionally magical. Your dog may be stealing socks because a familiar, high-scent object has become rewarding inside a repeated emotional or social routine. That is the core interpretation. The sock stands out because it is easy to notice, easy to carry, and unusually rich with familiar human scent. For some dogs, that makes it quietly comforting. For others, it makes it more interesting to carry and mouth. And in some homes, the dog learns that this one object reliably creates interaction. So the center of the behavior is not, my dog has a mysterious thing about socks. The center is that this object has become valuable in your dog's routine. That routine may be quiet and self-soothing. It may be playful and social. It may be partly reinforced by what happens when you notice. But those are branches. The main pattern is that the sock has become a rewarding object because of what it carries and what tends to happen around it. The behavior is small. The routine is the signal. Now, context still matters, because not every rewarding sock routine looks the same. If your dog takes a sock and quietly settles with it when the house gets still, that leans differently from a dog who grabs one, looks at you, and starts trotting away with obvious social energy. If the behavior shows up when you leave the room, when the day slows down, or around familiar settling moments, then the familiar scent comfort side may matter more. If it shows up during excited moments, laundry moments, or right when your dog wants engagement, then the sock may be functioning more like a trigger for interaction or object play. And if your dog only does this with socks, that tells you something different from a dog who steals every soft fabric item in reach. This is where the timing changes the meaning. Not because the sock means nothing, but because the same object can play a different role depending on the state your dog is in when it goes looking for it. A useful way to think about it is this. The object is consistent, but the emotional use of the object may change. The next time it happens, do not start by asking, "What does this sock mean?" Start with a better question. What role is this sock playing right now? Watch what happens before, during, and after. Before. What state was your dog already in? Quiet, bored, playful, restless, settling, reconnecting. During. Does your dog carry the sock quietly, mouth it gently, curl up with it, stare at you with it, or try to keep the interaction going? After. Does the moment end in calm settling, or does it turn into movement, chase, trading, talking, and repeated attention? That one shift changes how clearly you can read the behavior, because now you are not asking whether socks are emotionally special in the abstract. You are watching how a familiar object gets used inside your dog's pattern, and that is usually where the answer is. A better response starts by matching your reaction to the pattern you actually see. If the sock has become part of an attention loop, then a big theatrical response often feeds the exact part of the behavior you do not want to strengthen. Chasing, grabbing, loud voices, or turning the moment into a game can make the sock even more rewarding next time. If the behavior looks more like quiet comfort, then the goal is not to punish the dog for wanting something familiar. The better question is why this object is helping your dog settle, and whether there is a calmer replacement you would rather support. So the response is usually simple. Reduce easy access to socks. Notice the situations that predict the behavior. Offer a more appropriate carry or comfort object before the pattern starts. And when it does happen, respond with less emotional intensity, not more. That is the part that improves the bond. Not forcing one explanation onto the behavior. Not reacting like every sock theft is a big emotional event. Just reading the routine more accurately and responding in a way that does not add unnecessary fuel. So why does your dog steal your socks? Usually, not because socks are secretly dramatic. More often, it is because a sock is a familiar high-scent object that has become rewarding inside your dog's routine. Sometimes that routine leans toward comfort. Sometimes it leans toward play. Sometimes your reaction becomes part of what keeps it alive. But the strongest interpretation is usually not, "My dog is sending one big message." It is this. The sock is not the signal by itself. The signal is the role that familiar object has come to play in your dog's emotional or social pattern. That is the calmer way to read it. So the next 3 times it happens, do not just look at the sock. Look at the state, the sequence, and the outcome. That will tell you far more than the object alone. If your dog has one oddly specific thing it always goes for first, share it in the comments. And if you want more calm, clear, evidence-aware reads on everyday dog behavior, subscribe to Hidden Dog Signals. Hidden Dog Signals. Understand your dog better.